Hi, welcome to Ask the Navy Band. My name is musician first class Andy Skaggs, and today I get to answer a question from Holland Meadows Elementary School in Alexandria, Virginia. This question comes from two students. They are in 5th grade and 6th grade, and they ask, what are the different instruments of the Navy Band? Okay, guys, thank you. That's a great question, and it's one that's going to cover a lot of information. So let's get right into it, starting with the different instrument families. We call them instrument families because even though they're all different, they're all related somehow. And in the concert band, the three main families of instruments are the woodwinds, the brass, and the percussion. In the woodwind family, you have the flute and its smaller sibling, the piccolo. Flutes have a light and delicate tone and play in a very high register. They are often used as solo instruments in quiet passages, as it can be difficult to play at extremely loud volume on the flute. The piccolo, on the other hand, has a clear, piercing sound that adds a lot of flash and excitement to the group. The clarinet has a mellow, sweet sound, and in the concert band, clarinets are one of the largest sections. Its sound is produced by causing a wooden reed to vibrate against a mouthpiece. They have a wide range from low to high, and also a great deal of agility, so you can play a lot of notes very fast. B-flat clarinets are the most common kind, but in our band, we have bass and alto clarinets, as well as the tiny little E-flat clarinet for the very highest pitches. The oboe has a clear, somewhat pleading tone that is very beautiful and dramatic. Oboes use 2 reeds instead of 1, and that's why we refer to them as double reed instruments. Our band has 3 oboe players, and one of them often plays the English horn, which is just a little bit bigger and lower in pitch than the oboe. Next, we have the bassoon, a double reed instrument like the oboe and English horn, but much larger. It plays very low notes, in the deepest range of a bass singer. A lot of times, the bassoon is used by composers to represent a sort of lumbering, comical character or mood. We have 2 bassoonists in our band, and occasionally we add a third to play contrabassoon, which is twice as big and even lower pitched. And then we have the saxophone, which looks like it might belong in the brass family, but is actually a woodwind instrument because its sound is made by a reed, like the clarinet. Saxophones come in many different sizes, from soprano all the way down to bass, and add a lot of color and depth to the band. Okay, that's the woodwinds in a nutshell. On to the brass family. The brass family consists of the trumpet, the trombone, the French horn, the euphonium, and the tuba. The trumpet, like most brass instruments, is essentially a metal tube that you can make longer or shorter by pressing buttons called valves. The shorter the tube, the higher the pitch. The longer the tube, the lower. Trumpets have a bright, shimmering tone that can really get your attention, but are also capable of softer, more somber sounds, like the playing of taps at a funeral, for example. The range of a trumpet is roughly equivalent to a clarinet or a soprano singer. The French horn, usually just referred to as the horn, has a bold, heroic sound that composers often go to when they want to depict something epic or adventurous. It's a long tube that's coiled up very tightly and ends with a wide bell that helps give the horn its signature sound. Though they can go very high and very low, horn's typical range is around that of an alto singer or low female voice. The trombone has a rich quality that has been frequently compared to the human voice. One thing that makes this instrument unique is that instead of valves, you change the length of the tube by moving a slide back and forth. Most trombone sections, including ours at the Navy Band, have 2 or 3 tenor trombones and 1 bass trombone. Bass trombones are just a bit bigger and better suited to playing in the extreme low register. Trombones have a huge dynamic range, meaning they can play quite soft or quite loud, and are often used in moments of high drama or creeping suspense. Next up is the euphonium, a word which translated from its original Greek means good sound. Euphoniums have roughly the same pitch range as trombones, but the way they're designed gives them an altogether different tone quality. The tube, or bore, of a euphonium starts smaller and gets gradually larger all the way, where a trombone's bore stays basically the same. This design, called a conical bore, gives the euphonium a mellower, more velvety sound. That brings us to the tuba, which looks and sounds like a giant euphonium. The tuba really helps to anchor the band by laying down the lowest notes often the base on which the band's sound is built. The tuba is a conical bore instrument and has a dark and richly textured sound. There's also a marching version called the sousaphone that we use when we want to take our tubas on the road. Okay, so now we've covered the brass family and the woodwind family, and that means it's time for the percussion. Percussion instruments come in all shapes and sizes, but in general, they are related because they are instruments that you hit in order to make sound. You can hit them with hammers, mallets, wooden sticks, or even your fingers. Types of percussion instruments include drums, like bass drums, snare drums, or kettle drums, also called timpani, cymbals, crash cymbal, ride cymbal, or suspended cymbal, bells, chimes, gongs, tambourines, xylophones, shakers, woodblocks, and many, many more. Being a percussionist means being a master of dozens of different instruments all at once. Their job is to keep the rhythm of the band steady and also to provide numerous colors and effects depending on the mood the composer is trying to describe. These are the most common instruments found in the band, but the Navy Band has a few that you might not see in a typical school band. These include the harp, string bass, and piano. Though not necessarily used on every piece, they add important depth and texture to the sound of the band and have become an essential component of professional ensembles like ours. The Commodore's Jazz Ensemble features a guitarist, as does our popular music group, the Cruisers. Country Current uses banjo, mandolin, fiddle, and steel guitar. And our vocal ensemble, the Sea Chanters, makes beautiful music with just the instruments they were born with, their voices. I hope you've enjoyed listening to all the instruments that make up the Navy Band. I'd like to thank the students at Holland Meadows Elementary School, and thank you very much for watching.